In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold.
The Incantations. Christmas has come, the God is in the egg. I have prepared a rug for my God, an expensive red rug from the land of mourning. He shall be surrounded by the shimmer of magnificence of his eastern land. I am the mother, the simple maiden who gave birth and did not know how. I am the careful father who protects the maiden. I am the shepherd who received the message as he guarded his herd at night on the dark fields. I am the holy animal who stood astonished and cannot grasp the becoming of the god. I am the wise man who came from the east suspecting the miracle from afar. I am the egg that surrounds and nurtures the seed of God in me. The solemn hours lengthen and my humanity is wretched and suffers torment since I am a giver of birth. Whence do you delight me, O God? He is the eternal emptiness and the eternal fullness. Nothing resembles him and resembles everything. Eternal darkness and eternal brightness, eternal below and eternal above, double nature in one. Simple is the manifold, meaning in absurdity, freedom in bondage, subjugated when victorious, and old in youth. Yes, in no. Oh, the middle way enclosed in the egg, embryonic, full of ardor, oppressed, fully expectant, dreamlike, awaiting lost memories, as heavy as stone, hardened, molten, transparent, streaming bright, coiled on itself. Amen, you are the Lord of the beginning. Amen, you are the star of the east. Amen, you are the flower that blooms over everything. Amen, you are the deer that breaks out of the forest. Amen, you are the song that sounds far over the water. Amen, you are the beginning and the end. One word that was never spoken, one light that was never lit up, an unparalleled confusion in a road without end. I forgive myself these words as you also forgive me for wanting your blazing light. Rise up, you gracious fire of old night. I kiss the threshold of your beginning. My hand prepares the rug and spreads abundant red flowers before you. Rise up, my friend. You who lay sick, break through that shell. We have prepared a meal for you. Gifts have been prepared for you. Dancers await you. We have built a house for you. Your servants stand ready. We drove herds together for you on green fields. We filled your cup with red wine. We set out fragrant fruit on gold dishes, and we knock at your prison and lay your ears against it. Hours lengthen, tarry no longer. We are wretched without you, and our song is worn out. We are miserable without you, and wear out our songs. We spoke all the words that our heart gave us. What else do you want? What else do you want? What else shall we fulfill for you? We open every door. We bend our knees where you want us to. We go to all points of the compass according to your wish. We carry up what is below, and we turn what is above into what is below, as you command. We give and take accordingly to your wish. We wanted to turn, but to go left, obedient to your sign. We rise, and we fall, and we sway, and we remain still, and we see, and we are blind, and we hear, and we are deaf, and we say yes and no. Always hearing your word, we do not comprehend, and we do not live the incomprehensible. We do not love, and we live the unloved. We evolved around ourselves against and comprehend and live the understandable. We love and live the loved, true to your law. Come to us, we who are willing from our own will. Come to us, we who understand you from our own spirit, and come to us, and we who will warn you at our own fire. Come to us, and we will heal you with our own art. Come to us, and we will produce out of your own body. Come, child, to father and mother. We asked earth, and we asked heaven, and we asked the sea, and we asked the wind, and we asked the fire. We looked for you with all peoples. We looked for you with all the kings. We looked for you with what all the wise. We looked for you with our own heads and hearts, and we found you in the egg. I have slain a precious human sacrifice for you, a youth and an old man. I have cut my skin with a knife, and I've sprinkled your altar with my own blood. I have banished my father and my mother so that you can live with me. I have turned my night into day and went about midday like a sleepwalker. I've overthrown all the gods and broken all the laws and eaten the impure. I have thrown down my sword. I have dressed in women's clothing. I have shattered my firm castle and played like a child in the sand. I saw warriors form into lines of battle, and I destroyed my suit of armor with a hammer. I planted my field and left the fruit decay. I made small everything that was great and made everything great that was small. I exchanged my furthest goal for the nearest, and I am so ready.
The Abracast, occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Hey everybody, thank you for clicking the link. Thank you for clicking the play button. This is the Abracast. I am John Towers. We are working through still Liber Novus, or the Red Book of Carl Gustav Jung. And the idea behind this whole thing is, I was just going to not editorialize it at all. I was just going to do it. But it's going on so long, I feel like I have to kind of explain myself. So, after the quote, election, unquote, I felt like the gas pedal was being pressed hard towards unliberty. tyranny, if you will. But it's like, it's not specifically a tyranny of the government. It's a tyranny of, I don't know, the town hall, right? The modern town hall. So back in the olden days, you would have this town square where you could stand on a soapbox and you could stand on it and you could go, hey, motherfuckers, look here, I got some shit to say, and the sky is red. And you were wrong, and everybody might laugh at you, but you had the right to be heard. That is what this fucking country is based on. That's why it's the first of the amendments. It is the right to free fucking speech. And just like the song says, which song? Just like the one song says, I can say what I want to, even if I'm not serious. I can say what I want to, even if I'm just kidding. Well, we have forgotten that. We've forgotten it. That fucking lesson has been lost and has banished the likes of Mr. Potato Head and vanished the beloved amorous French skunk Pepe Le Pew. It is banished. I don't know. What else you want to throw? What else you want to throw? Aunt Jemima and a couple of Dr. Seuss books no one's ever fucking heard of before. It's silly, and it's not in the soul. At least I fucking pray to God it is not in the soul of America. Even now, generations removed from this brilliant founding and this unique document that changed the fucking world, man. A bunch of dudes sat down in a sweaty fucking room without air conditioning, in like weird makeup and fucking wigs, and hashed out a document that changed the face of the planet, nay, the universe. And the first point of clarification that they made when they were done with it was, hey, maybe we didn't spell it out clear enough, but everyone's got the right to fucking say whatever they want. That's it. That's the beauty of it. That's what makes it go round. And it changed the world for one bright, shining moment. The power laid with the people and pushed upwards to elected officials. Now it's all messed up. It's all muddled up and fucked up and changed, and it's different, and there's exceptions to stuff. And now it's like, well, the town square isn't the town square anymore. We carry it around in our phones. And because it's not the town, like literally your town has a square. Go stand in it and say shit. No one will hear you. We carry the town square in our pockets. And more every day, we're getting the right to fucking say what we want is getting taken away from us. People are offended. I see a meme and I'm like, every fucking person should have this tattooed somewhere on their fucking face or their body. Maybe it's like the mark of the beast. And it says, just because you're offended doesn't mean you're right. So what is I going to do? What can I do? I'm just a guy. I write comic books and draw shit. I have a podcast where I talk about magic, blowjobs, wizards, and weird shit. What am I going to do about this whole thing? I make some amazing t-shirts, by the way. You can visit Abracast.com and go to the store. And we can talk about the ethics of big tech censoring us all day long. I've already weighed in on it numerous times. Again, if you go to Abracast, go to feature topic link. I believe there's a whole category called, I can't remember what it's called. Media manipulation, perhaps. We talk about things like well, Operation Mockingbird, but stuff like computational propaganda, social media mind control. Talk about data mining, leveraging friends and influencing people, media retailers, the agenda, the exploitation and tyranny of ignorance, media manipulation, selective outrage, the media effect, uses and gratification theory in the age of social media, media and moral panic, media, the curious case of Kermit Gosnell, parts 1 and 2, government-sponsored social media and censorship, techno-censorship, where we talk about the ethics of these companies censoring us when they were started or they were infused with taxpayers' money. We've talked about all this. So what am I going to do? I feel like there's an awful lot of us that have lost our souls. We've lost our souls to this wokeness, this fucking jackbooted fucking collectivism. There's no I in team, but guess what? There's an I in individualism. That's my shit. Independence. There's an I in that too. So what am I going to do? What am I going to do with the coming horde of people who want to shut funny shit down because the cartoon skunk tried to make out with a cat? It's ludicrous. We're in trouble. We're in real fucking trouble, man. And what am I going to do about it? So this is what I decided to do about it. We need to find our souls. We need to have this come to Jesus moment within each one of our own selves. And we need to understand that diversity isn't necessarily about skin color. Every person is different than every other person, and god damn it, there's something in each one of us that is opposed to us and that we have in common with each other. We need to figure that shit out fast because it's tearing us apart. And I'm not just talking about a potato head. I'm not just talking about a skunk. I'm talking about the way we look at each other when we walk down the street. You see a guy with the red hat on. Like, I gotta see, is this a fucking MAGA hat? What the fuck is this guy's fucking problem? Does this guy have a Biden sticker on his fucking car? I gotta speed up. I gotta do a demographic scout on this. How old is this person? I'm guilty of that one. Bernie Sanders stickers. I always gotta go and look at the blue-haired fucking college student driving a car. So what am I going to do about it? This is what I decided to do about it. I decided last year that we were going to talk about this red book by Carl Gustav Jung. So we started talking about Jung. We started talking about the paranormal world of Carl Jung. And then we got into this red book and we talked about the Gnosis of Carl Jung, and we're talking about this red book again. And we're going to talk about this red book until we're done with it, because what it is it's a guy, it's about a guy that is going through a psychological crisis, and he figures out a way to find his soul and to reconcile with the parts of his self he might not like. It's different than how he wants to be portrayed. You know, nowadays I see it all over the place. People are talking about shadow work. It's the new moon. This is a perfect time to do shadow work. It's the first day of spring. It's the best time to do shadow work. And I don't disagree with any of that. And I don't mean to do like a funny thing with it or whatever. But it's like, hey, you know what else we can also talk about? Is we could talk about finding our fucking soul again and coming to some sort of adult decision about what it is that we could do. How we can make ourselves whole and stop making ourselves engines of manufactured rage. We can fucking do that. Each one of ourselves within each other, we could do that in our own brains, in our own complex underwater psyche, our archetypical aspects of our own mind somewhere deep in our fucking subconscious. We could fucking do that. We could put in the shadow work. We come out the other side and we can reconcile this manufactured, selective fucking outrage with everything. And we could come to an adult agreement and be like, you know, you should be able to say what you want to, even if you're just kidding, just like the fucking song says. It's like the goddamn song says. You can take the dark parts and you can take the light parts and you fucking integrate them. You become some kind of better human being because of it. Become an individualized person because of the work that you do. I know I usually don't rant and rave this much, especially lately about this stuff, but I feel like I've been teetering, trying to explain what I'm trying to do with this series of episodes, and I guess it's just gotten the better of me. This Pepe Le Pew situation, really. I mean, if you feel like you have to, if you feel like you might be triggered because of the fucking Muppets on Disney Plus, the problem might be within you, yourself. It might not be a problem with a bunch of talking puppets from the fucking 80s, man. That might not be a problem. I don't know. Am I doing anybody any good? I feel like I'm in that scene in Airplane where everyone's just lined up and they're trying to slap the chick who's freaking out to like snap her out of her fucking freak out. That's what I feel like. I feel like I'm the first, fourth, 8th, 12th, 16th guy in line, just waiting to try to wake this person up and get them to calm the fuck down. I just hope I'm not standing in that line all by myself. Liber Novus, the Red Book, Carl Jung. The chapter we're talking about is the Incantations. However, I am not ready, since I have still not accepted that which chokes my heart. The fearful thing is the enclosing of the god in the egg. I am happy that the great endeavor has been successful, but my fear made me forget the hazards involved, and I love and I admire the powerful. I almost slumped to the ground with fear when I saw him, and now I rescue him with a cupped hand. These are the powers that make you afraid and conquer you. These have been your gods and your rulers since time immemorial, yet you can put them in your own pocket. What is blasphemy compared to this? I would like to be able to blaspheme against the god the way I would at least have a god whom I could insult. But it is not worth blaspheming against an egg that one carries in his own pocket. That is a god against whom you cannot even blaspheme. I hated this pitifulness of the god. My own unworthiness is already enough. I cannot bear my encumbering it with the pitifulness of God. Nothing stands firm. You touch yourself and you turn to dust. I want the god, and he hides terrified in this egg, and you force the gates of hell, and the sound of crackling masks and the music of fools approach you. The storm. You storm heaven. stage scenery totters and the prompters in the box falls into a swoon, and you notice that you are not true. You are not true above. It is not true below. Left and right are deceptions. Wherever you grasp is air. Air, but I have caught him. He who has been feared since time immemorial. I have made him small, and my hands surround him. Oh boy. Young, having a Freudian moment, I touch myself and I turn to dust. I have I have made him small and my hands surround him. Okay. Alright, I'm sure smarter people than me have tried to figure that out. It sounds like, this is what I'm saying. Man, this is what I'm saying. It sounds like he's talking about jerking off. I've turned to dust. It's called the, what's it called? The petite le mort, the small death. And the orgasm is called. We've talked about this in our sex magic episodes. You can also find Abracast.com, the feature topic link. This is the demise of the gods. Man put them in his pocket. I just now am thinking about Carl Gustav Jung walking around. Like, in the 80s, there was this joke that they did in movies where they would, like, cut a hole in the pocket, and they'd be like, hey, it's in the raunchy kind of movies, like, I can't remember, but they're like, can you put, hey, I don't have any arms, can you dig some change out of my pocket? And, like, they would cut a hole. I don't remember what movie this is. Am I just making this up? If this rings a bell to anybody, let me know. Anyhow, the person would fish around in his pocket, and then he, obviously, like, he would put his dick in the back side of the pocket, like the black hole side of the pocket. The demise of gods. Man put them in his pocket. That is the end of the story of the gods. Nothing remains of the gods other than an egg. And I possess this egg. Perhaps I can eradicate this last one with this finally exterminate the race of gods. Now that I know that gods have yielded to my power, what are the gods to me now? Old and overripe, they have fallen and have been buried as an egg, in an egg. But how did this happen? I felled the great one. I mourned him. I did not want to leave him, since I loved him, because no mortal being rivals him. Out of love, I devised the tricks that relieved him of heaviness and freed him from the confines of space. I took from him, out of love, form and corporeality. I enclosed him lovingly in the maternal egg. Should I slay him, the defenseless one whom I loved? Should I shatter the delicate shell of his grave and expose him to the weightlessness and the unboundedness of the winds of the world? But I did not sting the incantations for his incubation. Did I not do this out of love for him? Why do I love him? I do not want to tear the love for the great one from my heart. I want to love my God, the defenseless, the hopeless one. I want to care for him like a child. Are we not the sons of the gods? Why should gods not be our children? If my father, the god, should die, the god-child should arise from the maternal heart. Since I love the god, I do not want to leave him. Only he who loves the god can make him fall. In the god submits to his vanquisher and nestles in his hand and dies in the heart of him who loves him and promises him birth. My God, I love you as a mother loves the unborn she carries in her heart. Grow in the egg of the east, nourish yourself from my love, drink the juices of my life that will become a radiant God. We need your light, O child, since in the darkness light up our paths. May your light shine before us. May your fire warm the coldness of our lives. We do not need your power, but life. What does power avail us? We do not want to rule. We want to live. We want light and warmth, and hence we need yours. Just as the greening earth and every living body needs the sun. Remember, the sun sucketh, or the body sucketh the sun. So we as spirits need your light and your warmth. A sunless spirit becomes the parasite of the body, but the God feeds the spirit.
Learn more at Abracast.com. Get bonus content by signing up for the mailing list. Get all that, plus many exclusive episodes by supporting the show at Subscribestar.com.
All right, so we're here at our halfway mark. We're moving into the chapter entitled The Opening of the Egg. Before we get there, I just want to remind everyone, as I have been throughout the episode, check out Abracast.com, sign into the mailing list if you're so inclined. Check out the Storefront tarot card. The tarot cards I designed are there. I'm about to get the new the Alchemist card printed. So in Crowley's deck, he has 3 magician cards. And this is something that I wanted to do for my deck, but for various reasons, I couldn't include 3 magician cards. So I did the initial run of the cards with the magician card. Striking card. One of my favorite cards. It's actually kind of based on my wife, the magician card. And then a few months ago I did the wizard card, which has its own symbolism. It's basically a reversed magician card. And then I'm about to get the third magician card, which is the Alchemist, done. I haven't really released the art for it. I think maybe you can go back and see a version of it on Instagram back a few months ago when I was working on it. But I'm about to get those printed, and anyone who is a supporter of the show gets them. And when I send swag out and whatever, I throw some extra cards in there. So if you're interested in checking that out, it's cool. It's like it's basically the story of the card is the guy who turned himself into a philosopher's stone, and the 4 suits of the tarot cards are, instead of lined up sort of like a cross or a compass, like wands, cups, swords, and coins. And then in the wizard card, they're reversed. So it's swords, coins, wands, cups. And with the alchemist card, it's tilted. I don't know how to. I haven't really explained it because I haven't really thought about how to explain it. I find myself trying to figure out how to explain it right now in this moment. But they're all in the catty corners. So instead of north, west, south, and east, they're all tilted to the corners of the card. It's actually pretty cool, and the idea for it actually came up. If you listen to one of the alchemy episodes, I can't remember exactly which one, I came up with the idea of the card, like, in the middle of the show. I start telling the story about a guy an alchemist who turns himself into a philosopher's stone. That's where the whole fucking idea of it came from, which is an idea that happened a lot with those cards. Those ideas that we would talk about or would come up in the show would wind up manifesting in the card somewhere, i.e. the Hermit being Metatron, a man turned into an angel in Genesis, there's various examples. Anyhow, check out the Storefront tarot cards. I mentioned the t-shirts earlier, all that stuff. Check out the featured topic links, and we're going to get back right into this right now with the opening of the egg. On the evening of the third day, I kneeled down on the rug. I'm not sure if I should be incanting this or if I should just be reading it home. On the evening of the third day, I kneeled down on the rug and carefully opened this egg. Something resembling smoke rises up from it. And suddenly Izdubar is standing before me, enormous, transformed, and complete. His limbs are whole, and I find no trace of damage on them. It is as if he had woken from a deep sleep. And he says, "Where am I? How narrow it is here, how dark, how cool. Am I in the grave? Where was I? It seemed to me as if I had been outside of the universe. Over and under me was the endless dark star glittering sky. I was in a passion of unspeakable yearning. Streams of fire broke from my radiating body, and I surged through blazing flames. I swam in a sea that wrapped me in living fires, full of light, full of longing, full of eternity. I was ancient and perpetually renewing myself, falling from the heights to the depths, and world glowing from the depths of the heights, hovering around myself amid the glowing clouds as raining embers beating down like foam from the surf, engulfing myself in stifling heat. Engulfing myself in stifling heat, I say. Embracing and rejecting myself in a boundless game. Where was I? Was I completely sun? I was completely sun. Oh, Izdubar, divine one, how wonderful you are healed. Healed. I was never sick. Who speaks of sickness? I was sun, completely sun. I am the sun. I am the sun. An inexpressible light breaks from his body. A light that my eyes cannot grasp. I cover my face and cast my gaze to the ground. You are the sun, the eternal light, most powerful one. Forgive me for carrying you. Everything is quiet in the dark, and I look around me. The empty eggshell is lying on the rug, and I feel myself, the floor, the walls. Everything is as usual, utterly plain, utterly real. I would like to say that everything around me was turned to gold. But it was not true. Everything is as it has always been. Here reigned eternal light, immeasurable and overpowering. It happened that I opened the egg, and that the god left the egg, and he was healed. And his figure shone transformed, and I knelt like a child and could not grasp the miracle. He who had been passed into the core of the being rose up, and no trace illness could be found on him. And when I thought that I had caught this mighty one and held him in my cupped hands, he was the sun himself. I wandered towards the east where the sun rises, and probably wanted to rise too, as if I were the sun. I wanted to embrace the sun and rise with it into daybreak, but it came towards me and it stood in my way. It told me that I had no chance of reaching the beginning, but I lamed the one who had wanted to rush down in order to set with the sun in the womb of the night. He was deprived of all hope, reaching the blessed western lands. But behold, I caught the sun without realizing it, and I carried it in my hands. Who wanted to go down to the sun found me through his downgoing. I became his nocturnal mother, who incubated the egg of his beginning, and he rose up and renewed, born into great splendor. So this is interesting. There's a couple things I want to talk about as I'm reading this. I think I mentioned this before. Jung talks about specifically this adventure as an undergoing. Or a downgoing. Where we know with the Zarathustra, when the Zarathustra came down his mountain, he called it an undergoing. I wonder what the connection is between that, if any. Also, the things that catch up with me from this is, at the very beginning, Jung talked to his soul, who was a female, and I think that's why he's able to do these maternal things with his egg and everything. He's reconciled his female soul with his male body, or its male counterpart, maybe I should say is a better way to say it. So he's able to wield these maternal powers, because one of the first things he does is talk to his soul and all of that. And then a few episodes ago, he had this whole thing about taking in the sun's energy, and the sun's energy, and the sun's energy. And he winds up turning Gilgamesh into when he does whatever he does with Gilgamesh, he takes this corporeality away from him, and he winds up putting him in this egg that he carries around in his pocket. He turns him into a sun somehow. And that's interesting, because he spent so much time talking about sucking the energy out of the sun. And there was an earlier chapter, even earlier than that, where right before he met... Was it right before he met the Red Rider? It was right before he met the Red Rider. He talked about killing the hero. So I think this is, it's all interlocked, obviously, and I'm just going by the seat of my pants as I'm talking here. I'm probably making a fool out of myself, so I should just get right back to it. While he rises, however, I go down. More Freudianism, perhaps. Just in my brain. I'm sure it's not. It's fine. It's okay. Don't write me angry letters. When I conquered the god, his force streamed into me like Netflix. But when the god rested in the egg and awaited beginning, my force went to him. And when he rose up radiantly, I lay on my face, and I took my life with him. All my force was now in him. My soul like a fish in the sea of fire. I lay in the frightful cool of the shadows of the earth, and sank down deeper and deeper into the lowest darkness. All the light had left me. God had rose in the eastern land. I fell into the horror of the underworld, and I lay there like a child bearer, cruelly mauled and bleeding her life into the child, uniting life, the death of the dying glance. The day's mother, the night's prey, my God had torn me apart terribly, and he had drunk the juice of my life, and he had drunk the highest power unto him, and he became marvelous and strong like the sun, an unblemished God who bore no stigma or flaw. He had taken my wings from me, he had robbed me from the swelling force of my muscles, and the power of my will disappeared within him, and he left me powerless and groaning. I did not know what was happening to me, simply everything powerful, beautiful, blissful, and superhuman had leaked from my maternal womb. None of the radiant gold remained. Cruelly and unthinkably, the sunbird spread its wings and flew up into infinite space. I was left with the broken shell and the miserable casings of the beginning. The emptiness of the depths opened beneath me. Woe betide the mother who gives birth to the god. If she gives birth to a wounded, pain-stricken god, a sword will pierce her soul. And if she gives birth to the unblemished gods, then the unblemished god, then hell will open to her, from which monstrous serpents will rise convulsively to suffocate the mother with Maya-sama. To suffocate the mother with Maya-sama. Birth is difficult, but 1,000 times more difficult is the hellish afterbirth. All the dragons and monstrous serpents of eternal emptiness flow behind the divine sun. What remains of human nature when the god has become mature and has seized all the power? Everything incompetent, everything. Think of. I have constantly found allegories to government hidden, big government. I've found allegories of big government hidden in the Red Book, and here I might have found one I would throw into that bucket as well. Here. What remains of human nature when God has become mature and seized all power? Everything incompetent, everything powerless, everything eternally vulgar, everything adverse and unfavorable, everything reluctant, diminishing, exterminating, everything absurd, everything that the unfathomable night of matter encloses in itself, in the afterbirth of the god and his hellish and dreadful deformed brother. The god suffers when man does not accept his darkness. Consequently, men must have suffering god, so long as they suffer from evil. To suffer from evil means you still love evil and yet love it no longer. You still hope to gain something, but you do not want to look closely, for fear that you might discover you still love evil. The god suffers because you continue to suffer from loving evil. You do not suffer from evil because you recognize it, but because it affords you a secret pleasure. And because you believe it promises the pleasure of unknown opportunity. So long as your god suffers, you have the sympathy with him and with yourself, and you thus spare your hell and prolong his suffering. You want to make him well without engaging in secret sympathy with yourself. Evil puts a spoke in your wheel, an evil whose form you generally recognize, but whose hellish strength in yourself you do not know. Your unknowing stems from the previous harmlessness of your life and the peaceful passage of time, and from the absence of the god. But if God draws near, your essence starts to seethe, and the black mud of the depths whirls up. A man stands between emptiness and fullness, and his strength combines with fullness, becomes fully formative. There is always something good about such formation. If his strength combines with emptiness, it has dissolving and destructive effects. Since emptiness can never be formed, but only strives to satisfy itself at the cost of fullness. Combined, this human force turns emptiness into itself. If your force shapes fullness, it does not, or it does so because of its association with fullness. But to ensure that your formation continues to exist, it must remain tied to your strength. Through constant shaping, you gradually love your force, since ultimately all force is associated with shapeliness that has been given form. Ultimately, where you mistakenly imagine that you are rich, you have actually become poor. Stimmy checks, stimmy checks, stimmy checks. You stand amidst your forms like a beggar. That is, when the blind man seized by an increasing desire to give shape to things, since he believes that manifold increased formation will satisfy his desire. Because he has spent his force, he becomes desirous. He begins to compel others into his service, and he takes their force to pursue his own designs. In the moment you need evil, when you notice that your strength is coming to an end and desire sets in, you must withdraw from it, from what has been formed into your emptiness through this association with an emptiness. You will succeed in dissolving the formation inside you. You will thus regain your freedom, and that you have saved your strength from oppressive association with the object, so long as you persist with the standpoint of the good. You cannot dissolve your formation precisely because it is what is good. You cannot dissolve good with good. This is it. You cannot dissolve good with good. You can dissolve good only with evil. That's it, right? This is it. You cannot dissolve good with good. You can only dissolve good with evil. For your good also leads ultimately to death. There is progressive binding of your force. By progressively binding your force, you are entirely unable to live without evil. Your shaping first produces an image of your formation within you. This image remains in you, and it is the first and unmediated expression of your shaping. It then produces precisely through this image an outer one, which can exist without you and outlive you. Your strength is to directly link to your outer formation, but only through the image that remains in you. When you set about dissolving your formation with evil, you do not destroy the outer shape, or else you could be destroying your own work. But what you do destroy is the image that you have formed in yourself. For it is this image that clings to your force. You will need evil to dissolve your formation and to free yourself from the power of what has been, in the same extent which this image fetters your strength. Hence, the formation causes many good persons to bleed to death, because they cannot attend to evil at the same measure. The better one is the more attached one is to one's formation, the more one will lose one's force. But what happens, the good person that has lost their force completely to their formation, not only will they seek to force others to service, but their formation with unconscious cunning power, but they will also become bad in their goodness without knowing it. Since their longing for satisfaction and strengthening will make them more and more selfish, but because of this, the good ones will ultimately destroy their own work, and all those who may forced into the service of their own work will become their enemies. The left always eats itself. The left always eats itself. The left always eats itself. Because they will have alienated them. But you will also secretly begin to hate whoever alienates you from yourself against your own wishes. Even if this were in the best interest of things, unfortunately, the good person who has bound his strength will all too easily find slaves for his service, since they are more than plenty who yearns for nothing more strongly than to be alienated from themselves under a good pretext. You suffer from evil because you love it secretly and you are unaware of your love. You wish to escape your predicament and you begin to hate evil. And once more you are bound to evil through your own hate. Says whether you love or hate it, it makes no difference. You are bound to evil. Evil is to be accepted. What we want remains in our hands. What we do not want, and yet is stronger than us, sweeps us away. We cannot stop it without damaging ourselves, or our force remains evil. Thus, we probably have to accept our evil without love and hate, recognizing that it exists and must have its share of life. In doing so, we can deprive it of the powers it has to overwhelm us. When we have succeeded in making a god, and if through its creation our whole force has entered into this design, we have filled it with an overwhelming desire to rise with the divine sun and to become part of its magnificence. But we forget that we are then no more than hollow forms. Since giving form to God, we have sapped us completely. We have not only poor, but have become sluggish matter throughout, which would never be entitled to share in divinity. I have a lot of thoughts to say about that. Like terrible suffering or an inescapable devilish persecution, the misery and the neediness of our matter creeps up on us. The powerless matter begins to suckle. Here we go with the suckling. And would like to swallow its shape back into itself. But since we are always enamored of our own design, we believe that God calls us to Him, and we make desperate attempts to follow the God into the higher realms, or return preachingly and demandingly to our fellow man. To at any rate force others into following God. We turn to our fellow men to force others into following the God of the state, the God of power, the God of government, the God of, diversity, the God of political correctness. You must follow the God. Unfortunately, there are men who follow themselves to be persuaded into doing this, to their and to our detriment. Much undoing resides in this urge, since he who could suspect that he who has made the God for himself condemned to hell. But this is the way it is, because the matter is stripped from the divine radiance of force, is empty and is dark. If the God aligns from matter, we feel emptiness of matter. One part of endless empty space. Through haste and increased willing in action, we want to escape from the emptiness and is also from evil. But the right way is that we accept emptiness and destroy the image of the form within us. Destroy the image of the form within us. Negate the God. Then descend into the abyss, the awfulness of the matter. The God, as our work, stand outside us and is no longer needs our help. He is created and remains left to his own devices, a created work that perishes against immediately once we turn away from it's not worth anything, even if it is, or if it were, a god. Ray, if someone asked you if you're a god, you say yes. But where is the God after his creation and after his separation from me? If you build a house, you see it standing in the outer world. When you have created a God whom you cannot see with your own eyes, then he is in the spiritual world. That is no less valuable than the outer physical world. He is there. He does everything for you, the others that you would expect from a god. Thus, your soul is your own self in the spiritual world as the abode of the spirits. However, the spiritual world is also an outer world, just as you are not alone in this visible world, but you're surrounded by objects that belong to you and obey only you, only also have thoughts that belong to you and obey only to you. But just as you are surrounded in the visible world by things and beings that neither belong to you nor obey you, you are also surrounded by the spiritual world, by thoughts and beings and thoughts that neither obey nor belong to you. Just as you engender or bear your physical children, and just as they grow up and separate themselves from you to live their own fate, you also produce or give birth to beings of thought which separate themselves from you and live their own lives, just as we leave our children when we grow old and give our bodies back to the earth. I separate myself from my God, the sun, and sink into the emptiness of matter and obliterate the image of the child in me. This happens in that I accept the nature of the matter and allow the force of my form to flow into emptiness. Just as I give birth anew to the sick God through my engendering force, I henceforth animate the emptiness of matter, from which the formation of evil grows. Nature is playful and terrible. Some of the playful side and daily with it and let it sparkle. Others see the horror and cover their heads and are more dead than alive. The way does not lead between both, but embrace both. It is both cheerful play and cold horror.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
If you're considering supporting the show on Subscribestar, let me tell you a little bit about what's going on over there. The degree of the Red Archive, which is a $1 a month. You get access to some bonus audio, but there's also 50 plus hours of archived episodes. These are older episodes. They're not on the stream anymore. It's the only place to find them is in the Red Archive. There's a $3 a month tier called the Fellowcraft degree, and that has 30 and 40 hours of exclusive Fellowcraft episodes. You get access to all of those. And those have never been on the stream. Those have never been on the normal show. They're exclusive only to the Fellowcraft degree. $5. The $5 tier is the degree of the Red Mark. And so for $5, you get archived episodes, you get the Fellowcraft episodes, and then you are able to get some swag, bookmarks, temporary tattoos, exclusive tarot cards, all different kinds of stuff coming out every once in a while. And then for $10 a month, you become a knight in the degree of the Vessel of the Art. So the Vessel of the Art degree, you get the archived episodes, the exclusive episodes, the swag, and then you get like the keystone of all swag. You get your very own Vessel of the Art, which is a full-size, fully glass mason jar with the Abracast sigil logo on it. So if you're considering helping out and supporting the show, that's where you do it, and that's what you get. If you look around on Abracast.com, you can also find a PayPal donate button. So if you don't want a, monthly thing, another monthly thing to take care of, but you're like, hey, Towers is a good guy. I want to buy him a drink. You shoot me, not a coffee. I don't drink that shit, but you could PayPal me some money. All of your help is appreciated, and yeah, that's it. I'm John. This is it. Like I said, I'm here.